Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and here we are with part 2 of making our little Venetian plaster covered journal. So last time we got our book cloth ready and the book trimmed up, and I put these little craft cardstock pieces on our spine. So let's get started and put the book cloth on it. And what I do is I use tacky glue and water, 3 parts tacky glue, 2 parts water, and stir it up, and that is the solution of glue that I find works well for me. So what I want to do is let's move the book cover because we're going to get messy. That's the fun part. So I'm just going to slather some glue on the spine here because I like to start with getting the ridges put in. So generous coat and making sure that you get it in the little edges of our cardstock also. And we don't really want a lot of it welling up in the ridge or in the ditch of the ridge, but we do want a generous. And the watered down tacky glue does have a pretty good window of working time. It doesn't dry right away like art glitter glue does. So that buys me a little bit of time. Trying to brush away some of the pooling glue. But we did make our book cloth so that nothing will seep through in case we get a little over ambitious with our glue. Now what I'm going to do, it's going to go like this, but I don't just put it down. I want to fold it in half and roughly place it as centered as I can. And then I can also play with the design because I do have that little bit of window so I can get the little knots centered if that's possible, or at least up here. And I'm going to lay it down a little bit so I get a better look. And is my book laying nicely? Okay, and it is curving that way, so I need to pull it over. Not quite, but I'm getting closer. Now, how does it look? Let me press that edge so that I get a little better look. That's pretty close. It's that human thing, you know, so I'm not going to get it perfect, but it's going to be close. So now what I want to do is feel where those ridges are, and I want to work the bone folder in. And if I use my Teflon one, this point end, I won't scar the fabric. And I think that the ridges, they're going to be very subtle. They're not going to pop out, but you're going to know they're there. And when the book is closed and you look at the spine, you'll see the texture. And when I use lighter weight fabrics and solid fabrics, you do see the spines, the texture I put on the spines easier. But you just want to work the ridges in a systematic way, either like center outwards is good. I chose to come down, but pick a pattern. Don't do here and then here. What you want to do is work the fabric one way or the other. And if you spend a little bit of time here, you'll be a lot happier in the end. But then again, don't beat yourself up, because we are just playing and it's just paper and fabric. And then there's things that you can do to camouflage if you're not exactly pleased with how it looks. It can be camouflaged also. Or it can be embraced. Okay, so now I want to go to the actual ridges before the front and back covers of the book board and get the fabric worked in there, because I did apply glue to it. So it is subtle, but it is there. Hoping that you can kind of see it a little bit in the shadows maybe. So now we want to work the front and back covers. So I'm just going to peel it back and apply glue. Getting it down in there. And this isn't a fancy brush, it's just one that I use for, you know, just rough painting or applying glue. I just make sure that I soak the brush in water after I'm done. Use what you have. I try sponge brushes. I don't have as much success with those. I break them. I put too much pressure on them, or they don't last. They don't work for me. So I bring out the big guns. And then we'll just flip that over and press it on. And you can brayer it if you'd like. I'm going to use my Teflon bone folder. And I'm just smoothing out the fabric. And then flip it around, get the other side. Same thing. Try to get glue everywhere. And put our book cloth over. And again, pressing out the fabric to the edges, making sure there's no wrinkles and no bubbles. Work in my crease again. Now I'll flip it over and check it out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the glue brush in the water and close the glue, because now we're going to use a different kind of glue. And I use this Mitered Jig that I got from Colorway Arts on Etsy. And it's a metal, and it works wonderful. It has this little 90-degree angle that fits right there on the book cover. And I got a little bit of glue oozing off that edge. Want to clean it off of there. But we're going to trim our fabric. So I don't know if my blade will be sharp enough, but let's give it a try. But the angle goes right over the corner of the book cover, and you've seen me use this before. And go ahead and trim off that fabric. And also, Donna on Junk Journal Ideas, she has a tutorial that she just did recently showing you how you can make one of these out of chipboard if you'd like. So check her out. And I'm going to do this to each of the four corners. Okay, let's see if it works. And then what I like to do so that I have a nice flap over all the way around is I go ahead and use the angle and cut the fabric. So then I don't have an excessive amount. And it looks like I don't have quite enough on this for the full, I believe it's 3/4, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. Yes, it's 3/4. And then I can put that away. Okay, so this is the one that didn't have quite enough, but I really don't want all that frayed edge. So I'm just going to grab some fabric snips and let's just trim it out. Just cut that off. Because when that the frayed edges get in the glue, it ends up being lumpy and bumpy. So I don't want that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the top edge and the bottom edge, we're going to fold them over. And I'm just training the fabric now, or our book cloth, and then I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac. And I got a little bit of dried on the end. Get that off of there. And I'm just putting some on in circular motion. And I have this silicone spatula from Momenta, and I'm going to use that and just try to smooth out my Fabri-Tac a little bit. And then start in the center and pull it down, and then walk it to an edge, and then to the other edge. And I had some glue seepage, so I'm just going to rub it out. but I like to apply the glue to the book rather than to the book cloth. So sometimes I overestimate how wide the fabric is, but that's okay because Fabri-Tac rubs right off. Okay, turn it around so it's okay, it's nice and secure. Let's train this side. And apply glue. And the silicone spatula, the glue just rubs right off. And the center. And walk it out. Other side. I guess the glue a little better on this one. So it's looking good so far. Now we're going to do the short edges. Rub the glue off my fingers. And let's see if I can move that light a little bit so it's not so bad. Hopefully you can still see. I'm going to train the side. And what we're going to do is apply glue in this corner and in this corner. And with your nail or finger, fold it over that little corner. And let it sit. And then apply glue. Being careful now, this is an angle, so you want to make sure that you don't really overlap that fabric. Oh, I'm getting a little healthy with the glue again. And let's spread that thinner. I just don't like ridges. And start in the center, bring it in, let it grab, and walk it out. Other way. And then you get nice book corners every time. I love this guide. Again, it's from Colorway Arts. And she's an Etsy shop that is over on the west side of Michigan. So she's relatively local for me. I'm on the east side, but still. same state. And she has fast shipping. Okay, let's do the other one. We're going to train our fabric. And the glue in the corners. And press it in. And let it grab and set up. And then we're going to glue. I got a little healthy again. Center. And other side. Lift that a little bit. Get that corner in there. And pull her down. And if your corners aren't perfect, that's okay. And there's also a multitude of little metal book corners that you can put on your corners also. And there's also ways of making your own book corner covers also. I don't remember whose channel I saw that on, but it's out there. So here we have our book cover. So we've got our ridges on our spine, and the knots or circles are relatively in the center. And it appears as straight, so it works for me. And it does not matter which one is the front or the back. If you have a little blemish on any of your fabric, that could be one or the other sides that because you may cover it up. So we've got this little plaster goodie that I made. And what I want to do is determine if I want it cut smaller. And I think I do. I think it's going to be a little bit too wide because I don't want it to break. And what I'm going to do, I think, is glue it down and put brads in the corners for like rivet looking. I think it's going to be wonderful and kind of rustic. But it's an experiment, so I thought I'd give it a try. So I'm going to trim this a little bit. How much do I want to trim it? Let's line it up with the mat. Grab my knife. Okay, hopefully I don't get my head in here too much, but it may be a possibility. Because I really don't know what I want. Grab another ruler. That will leave me about 5 5/8. Bring that to my book cover. Well, let's go for it, and we can always trim it down some more. So I'm using the grid on the mat to try to keep me straight. And cutting through the plaster, there's very many different levels. There's different thicknesses of it because there's 2 different coats. You first make one coat and you let it dry for 2 days, and then you put your next coat on and you put your leaves on, or whatever you'd like, and then you let that dry for a couple of days. So it gets very, very texturous. Okay. And with my white edges, after I decide how big I want it, I'm going to hit it with some brown paint. I think I want it shorter also, but I kind of like the width. So let's cut some off of this side. So we're going to line it up again with the grid. And cut some off. If I knew how to edit this with my camera, I would fast forward it or speed it up a little for you. I'm sorry, it's kind of like watching paint dry, but this is my process, and you could fast time it on your device possibly. Okay, so now I want to hit it with my paint, and I'm not using anything fancy. It's Espresso Craft Smart. It's a store brand paint. So I just want to put some more in the cover. It's almost empty. Just get a little bit in the corner and grab a brush. These are the same, I just cut the bristles off. So let's try that and see if it works. I love playing with mixed media. It's almost as much fun as playing with paper. And I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll probably do a second coat, and then I have to figure out what I want to use to seal it with. I'll probably go with a spray sealer because it is acrylic paint. That wasn't that exciting. Sorry about that. But get my edges brown. I have many layers of paint on this. I started with where you see that bright green. Let me grab the original. I started with that neon. And then I added 2 colors of brown, and then I added some black. So here and there you can see a little bit of the neon, but that's okay. Hit some of those spots and then buff it away. I'll probably use a drier one. But yes, the edges are definitely going to require 2 coats. So I'm going to go ahead and give it its next coat, and I will be back in our next part and we will attach it to our book cover. So thank you for watching and have a creative day.